Good morning, everyone. This is Laura Guggen from Texas OnCourse. We're going to start in just a couple of minutes and let attendees join.
So they give me money to take care of college bus to UTRGV or something.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It is 10 a.m. and we are going to get started with our webinar this morning on the PSAT. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our October webinar on the PSAT exam. We're kicking off the start of the 2018-2019 school year, and it is really hard to believe that high school students and even some middle school students all over will be taking this exam on October 10th and possibly at other times during the school year as well. We know this exam administration is often a major focus of fall semester for educators, so we really wanted to provide a valuable webinar for our Texas OnCourse users. For all of those joining the webinar this morning, you will receive a link to access the recording, and we will also be posting all of our webinars on our website. So we'll go ahead and get started with some general tips and tools to keep you engaged during the webinar this morning so you can hear and see everything. We know it's a really busy time of year, and we really we value your time for joining us this morning. So we're going to start with a short orientation of Zoom, which is our webinar platform. You're off to a great start if you were able to register, log in, and you can see and hear me so far. Here are just a few tools to change your settings and make sure you can actively participate during the webinar. The first one is the audio test. Everyone that is registered for the webinar is actually set to mute. And we have several panelists that can speak, and that is who you can hear, but you can test your audio to make sure you can hear me. The next one is the raise your hand and lower your hand feature for Zoom. So if you want to raise your hand for any reason, please do so throughout the webinar. The next one is the Q&A feature. We have set some time aside at the end for question and answer, so we will keep track of that. If you have questions in the chat box, you can go ahead and just write in those questions right there, and then hit the send button, and we'll keep track of your questions. And the next one is setting your screen for whatever your preference is in the top right-hand corner. So I just want to quickly highlight that we have over 35 educators in Texas joining us this morning to discuss the PSAT. Today we're going to cover highlights from the Texas OnCourse NMSQT learning module that's in our academy in our financial aid content area. Our academy now has 4 content areas, as you can see here: career pathways, financial aid, post-secondary pathways, and now specialty areas. Additionally, we're very lucky to have an expert guest speaker on this topic from College Board, Martha Morris, Director of the SAT Suite Professional Development Implementation. We've also asked Lynn Hartnett, College and Career Counselor from Corpus Christi ISD, who is at W.B. Ray High School, to share some best practices for implementing a high-quality test administration on campus, and also how best to help students and their families understand what the PSAT exam is, how to interpret their score, and how it affects them overall. I want to just quickly go over some numbers about who is using Texas OnCourse. As many of you know, when we began, over 2,500 counselors and advisors across the state helped us build our resources, and we continue to build on those. As you fast forward to today, we have over 9,400 educators that are currently using Texas OnCourse, 2,637 schools, and 871 districts, which is actually over 65% of school districts in the state of Texas, which is really amazing. So as we look ahead, we're hoping to serve over 10,000 educators this year in the 18-19 school year in all districts, and essentially help over 2 million students plan for what is next after high school. So I'd like to briefly just go over the format for our webinar today so attendees know what to expect. We've had several people that have contributed to our webinar this morning, so I want to take a few minutes to let them introduce themselves. After we have introductions, Jaslyn Green from our staff is going to cover the NMSQT learning module and spotlight key areas that our content team has developed for counselors and advisors. Our expert guest speaker this morning is Martha Morris from College Board, and she has some great information on the SAT suite of assessments. We will wrap up with campus and district best practices from one of our leader fellows across the state, Lynn Hartnett. And before we end our webinar, we will remind attendees what's happening for the remainder of the school year on our webinar schedule, and also leave time for question and answer. So I'll start with my own short introduction. My name's Laura Guggen, and I'm Senior Partnerships Coordinator here at Texas OnCourse. My background is a K-12 counseling and advising background, and I work really closely with our school districts, our partners, and their implementation of our middle school resources, as well as our leader fellows and counselors that are using the academy resources. Jaslyn?
Hi, I'm Jaslyn Green with Texas OnCourse. I'm our Assistant Director for Content and Resources, background in college advising and working closely with counselors. With the team, I basically oversee all of the content and resources that's included in all of our tools and products, with the hope of that they are serving your immediate needs, and if not, I'm definitely the person to reach out to.
Hi, I'm Martha Morris. I'm a director at the College Board. I'm a former social studies teacher, curriculum coordinator, elementary principal, and high school principal from Flint, Michigan. I've been with the College Board for about 6 years, and I design a lot of our professional development resources associated with the SAT suite of assessments.
On our high school campus.
Sorry, Lynn, can you try that one more time? I think we didn't hear the beginning.
Good morning, I'm Lynn Hartnett. This is my 10th year as a career and college counselor, and I'm here as a peer to share with other counselors what practices we implement on our high school campus.
Thank you so much.
So good morning again, this is Jaslyn. One of our goals at Texas OnCourse is to ensure that the Academy includes infographics that you as counselors and advisors can download, print, and immediately use in your advising sessions with students and families. So two of the resources that we'd like to highlight are entitled the PSAT, NMSQT score ranges, and then also the 4 types of scholarship offers. So the first is really built to just answer one of the common questions we know you receive from students and families, which is, what is a good PSAT score? Our hope is that this infographic can be used to help you answer this question, We all know that the PSAT and NMSQT scoring can be really complex since students receive those subscores, they receive test scores for their reading, writing, and language and mathematics, as well as their section scores. And then there's also an overall score. So we all know that can be really complex for students and families. So as students consider what their goals are in terms of being really competitive within this scholarship qualification process, it's very important to help them understand both the average as well as the competitive score. So here you see the best score really falls within this top score category, which is anywhere between a 1210 and a 1520, puts students in the top of all of about 10% of test takers. The next category is a best score, which falls within, the better score, which falls within the competitive category. This is about 1070 to 1200, meaning that the students would be in the top 25%. The next category is the good category, and it's anywhere between 950 and 1060. This one puts students in about the top half, but it's not as beneficial for students to score there. And then the last is the below average, which is anything at 950 or below, meaning that the students would be below the average compared to the testing population. So in the 18-19 school year, approximately 7,500 national merit scholarships and about 1,200 special scholarships will be awarded for over a combined total of about $44 million. So that is a large amount of money that students wouldn't have to pay back for college. So the purpose of this infographic is really just to provide some basic information about the 4 types of scholarship offers a student could qualify for by successfully completing the PSAT/NMSQT. The 4 scholarships are the National Merit $2,500 Scholarship, which is basically awarded. All of the finalists basically are able to compete within their state for that one. The next one is the Corporate Sponsored Merit Scholarship, which is usually available to finalists who are children of employees, resident of specific communities, or finalists with specific college majors or career plans. The third is the Corporate Sponsored Special Scholarship. These scholarships are available to students who meet similar categories to the Merit Corporate Sponsored Scholarship. The only difference between the two is that this is also available for students who are not considered finalists in the competition. And then the last is the College Sponsored Merit Scholarship. This is available to any finalist who plans to attend a sponsored college. And all they have to do is really just notify the National Merit Scholarship Corporation that the sponsored college is their first choice. To learn more about that process and notifying the corporation, please feel free to visit our National Merit Scholarship Program module, which is located under the financial aid content area in the Academy. In each of the modules in Texas OnCourse Academy, we've generated a number of resources, including infographics and handouts that you can print and hang up in your office or just simply hand out to students. You can find those resources throughout the modules, but we also have resources from the module we're discussing today available for you to download on our Pinterest. This is a snapshot of the Pinterest board for our National Merit Scholarship Program module resources. You can access the board by visiting www.com/Pinterest/Texas OnCourse. And now I'm going to turn it over to Martha Maris to provide additional information and updates on the PSAT/NMSQT. Martha.
Great, thanks, Jaslyn. Thanks for having me here today. I'm glad to have an opportunity to share information about the PSAT NMSQT, which is one of the assessments in the SAT suite of assessments that I'll talk about in a moment. We know that your work as school counselors involves endless hours of working with students and their families to clear a path to college. So today I hope to share with you what the College Board is doing and how we're working to make the connection to college easier through our programs and services. We also want to make sure you know just how your students are interacting with our programs and services and the benefits that they're unlocking. These are just some quick data points that we'll look at more deeply throughout the presentation. First, I want to make sure everyone is clear that the SAT is accepted by every U.S. college as an entrance exam. 2 out of 3 students raise their scores if they retake the SAT. And students who take the PSAT, NMSQT get higher SAT scores on average than those who don't. Official SAT practice on Khan Academy is free and personalized for all students. And the students who do use official SAT practice for at least 20 hours gain an average of 115 points from the PSAT, NMSQT to the SAT. And last, want to make sure everyone's clear that there's no penalty for guessing on the SAT. And so there's no reason to leave a question blank. Students should always give their best answer. The things I want to go over today and make sure that you leave with are an understanding of the key features of the redesigned PSAT NMSQT. I want to make sure you understand all of the scores that are associated with the assessment and with the entire SAT suite of assessments. And then to learn a little bit about how to access those scores and use the reports in the K12 score reporting portal. And finally, we'll just get acquainted with official SAT practice on Khan Academy. So when we talk about the SAT suite of assessments, we're referring to a suite of 3 assessments that are tied to each other, not only through common content, but also through a common scale that measures student growth in college readiness. Our research clearly tells us that college and career readiness is not a point in time. In fact, it's a process that requires students to focus on what matters most to be on track for college readiness. Working together, our assessments provide useful benchmarks and consistent feedback for measuring student progress over time, giving you information to help students build on the skills they have to get ready for college and career. The PSAT 8-9 serves as the foundation for understanding students' progress as they enter high school. It provides benchmarks and norms for both 8th and 9th grades. The PSAT, NMSQT, and PSAT 10, which are actually the same assessment, just given different times of the school year, they provide a check on student progress and pinpoint areas for improving readiness. And then finally, the SAT is that powerful connection to college. Just to make sure we understand how the test is built, the PSAT NMSQT consists of 2 sections, evidence-based reading and writing and math. The essay is not part of the PSAT NMSQT. It is on the SAT only. I want to make sure everyone understands that. The length of the PSAT NMSQT is 2 hours and 45 minutes. The SAT and the PSAT NMSQT ask students to apply deep understanding of the few things shown by current research to matter most for college and career readiness and success. Students will find questions modeled on the best work of classroom teachers and perform tasks that they generally practice in their challenging courses. It's focused on 7 key features, which are actually the key changes that were made when the redesign took place. The first is words and context. Many questions on the assessment focus on the important, widely used words and phrases found in texts in many different subjects. Students will no longer need to use flashcards to memorize obscure words as they used to on the SAT, and then they forgot them the minute they put their pencils down. The assessments now gauge students in close reading and honor the best work of the classroom. For command of evidence, on both the evidence-based reading and writing section and the math section, they'll be asked to demonstrate their ability to interpret, synthesize, and use evidence found in a wide range of sources. The sources may be informational graphics, they might be tables, charts, graphs, or a multi-paragraph passage in the area of literature and literary nonfiction, or humanities or science, history, or social studies. For math that matters most, the assessments focus on 3 essential areas of math: problem solving and data analysis, heart of algebra, and passport to advanced math. Problem solving and data analysis is about being quantitatively literate. Current research shows that these areas most contribute to the readiness for college and career training. And in addition to these areas, the PSAT NMSQT includes questions on additional topics in math, including the kinds of geometric and trigonometric skills that are most relevant to college and career success. Throughout the assessments in the suite, students engage with questions that are grounded in the real world and directly relate to the work performed in college and career. In the evidence-based reading and writing section, when they're reading their literature and literary nonfiction, they'll also be looking at charts, graphs, and passages like they might encounter in science or social studies or other majors and careers. And they're asked to do more than just correct the errors. They need to edit and revise and improve the text that they're reading. The math section features multi-step applications to solve problems in science, social studies, and career scenarios and other real-life contexts. Students are presented with a scenario and then asked several questions about it, allowing them to dig deeply into a situation and then model it mathematically. Students will get scores in analysis in science and analysis in history and social studies. When they take the assessments in the SAT suite, they're asked to apply their reading, writing, language, and math knowledge and skills to answer questions in science, history, and social studies contexts. In this way, the assessments call on the same sorts of knowledge and skills that students will use in college and in their jobs and throughout their lives to make sense of what's going on in the world. The U.S. founding documents, which includes the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, the Federalist Papers, have been inspired by and have inspired conversations that continue today about the nature of civic life. Authors, speakers, and thinkers from the United States and around the world have broadened and deepened the conversation around such vital matters such as freedom, justice, and human dignity. So every time students take an assessment in the suite, including the PSAT and NMSQT, they'll encounter a passage from a text from this global conversation. And the last key feature is that no penalty for guessing. Again, students will not have points deducted for incorrect answers. They will earn points for questions they answer correctly, encouraging them to give the best answer they have to every question. On this slide, we're looking at the PSAT, NMSQT, and PSAT 10 scores and score ranges. The SAT reports all of the same scores, and PSAT 8-9 reports all but the Passport to Advanced Math subscore. Each box on this slide represents a score students receive when they take the PSAT NMSQT, because one of our main goals in the redesign of the assessments was to provide more information to students and to counselors about how students perform so they can guide them to where they need to work to become college and career ready. So the PSAT NMSQT reports one total score ranging from 320 to 1520, which is the sum of the two section scores, which are 160 to 760 each. Students will receive 3 test scores on a scale of 8 to 38, one in reading, one in writing and language to make up the evidence-based reading and writing section, and then also a math test score. Students will receive 2 cross-test scores ranging from 8 to 38. These scores come from questions from each of the 3 tests. And then they'll receive 7 subscores that are scaled out from 1 to 15 each. There are subscores specifics to each test. Items from both the reading test and the writing and language test contribute to words and context and command of evidence, while expression of ideas and standard English conventions are just from the writing and language test. And the math test reports heart of algebra, problem solving and data analysis, and Passport to Advanced Math. We also build the assessments so that you can see how students perform over time. You can see here the PSAT and NMSQT score ranges vary slightly from SAT score ranges. SAT section scores range from 200 to 800, while PSAT, NMSQT, and PSAT 10 scores range from 160 to 760. PSAT 8-9 range from 120 to 720. The tests assess the same content, but at different levels of complexity, and that's why they're different score ranges. The scores out, though, are on the same vertical scale, except for the subscores. This is actually quite helpful for educators and for students because then the scores provide a gauge of how prepared a student is for the SAT, no matter when they take it. If a student takes the PSAT 8-9 and earns a 500 in math, that means that that student would be expected to also score a 500 in math if he or she took the SAT on the same day. Now, of course, the 500 on each of those assessments means something very different, but it really simplifies the understanding of a student's current performance. There's no zeros to add, and the student and the educator have a pretty good idea of where the student is in relation to the student's goals for the SAT. So section scores, test scores, cross-test scores, and total scores are vertically scaled, but those sub-scores are not vertically scaled. Another way we're giving students and educators more information is through benchmarks on each assessment. The SAT College and Career Readiness benchmarks and the grade level benchmarks work together as a system, making it easier to evaluate how students are progressing year over year toward college readiness. They provide actionable feedback and detailed information to students and educators through the score reports, and they present a straightforward understanding of college and career readiness by using a definition that's more familiar to students and educators. The SAT College and Career Readiness benchmarks are based on actual student success in entry-level college courses. Specifically, the benchmark score represents a 75% likelihood of a student achieving at least a C grade in a first semester credit-bearing college course in a related subject. For example, in the case of evidence-based reading and writing benchmark, this represents a 75% likelihood of getting at least a C grade in a first semester college literature, writing, or social science course. And then in the case of the math benchmark, it represents a first semester college level algebra, statistics, pre-calculus, or calculus course. The grade level benchmark scores are based on expected student growth toward the SAT benchmark at each grade. They're set at the section level just like they are for the SAT, and they're set to reflect typical annual growth from year to year through the 12th grade. If you want to know more about the SAT suite, what's assessed on the assessments, if you want to look at sample test questions or look at some instructional strategies, please go to sat.org/PD. We have a variety of resources there. We have new e-learning modules that you can watch and get step-by-step instructions on how to use some of our tools. We have the redesigned SAT teacher implementation guide that has those instructional strategies and some self-guided courses. So if you wanted to present something to your staff or your colleagues, or they could download this PowerPoint and use the facilitator notes to present. And I just also finally like to encourage counselors to join us for Score Week, December 3rd through 7th, to get some of this information. So when all of those scores come in, they're reported in an online portal. Students access the scores through their College Board account, and then counselors can access the student scores through the K12 score reporting portal. If you have used it before and you go in this year, you'll see that we've recently upgraded the portal, and there are a few changes. There's a new home page, which is designed to help people find the information they need in an easier way. Users can access the reports they want directly from the home page rather than clicking out and going back in. If they click on the K12 reporting portal, it will take them back to the home page easily. The portal will also help you find the report you want by selecting Let Us Help You Choose, and after you've answered a few questions about what you want to do, they'll recommend a report for you. And then in the bottom of the report, you'll see the reports you've recently viewed, so you can get back to them easily. Many counselors make day-to-day use of the portal right around test administration. For example, you can know which of your students are registered for an upcoming SAT and remind them to prepare and show up and use their free score sends. You can also print an admission ticket from the portal. You can help a PSAT student unlock their online account if needed with their access codes. You can see student test results quickly, and for those old school educators, you can make duplicate paper copies for your files. The roster report shows lots of data on each page, making important information highly accessible to counselors. So let's take a look at that. If you're interested in registration and score data, select the roster report. This report is useful to see lots of data on one screen. Rosters are available for each school year, separated by SAT registration and SAT scores, SAT subject test registration and SAT subject test scores, and then the PSAT related assessment scores. If you click on that more arrow on the right hand of the screen, you can see summary information about any of these areas. Then if you go ahead and click See Full Registration Roster, you can print SAT and SAT subject test admission tickets, student score reports, and labels. You'll see Registration Report Admission Tickets tab that lists registration details for each student, including their access codes, which are helpful to help students get their scores in the reporting portal. And then you can see the score labels and score reports and labels printing tab to see all the scores for each student. Here in this full registration roster report, you can also click through to the AP Potential tool. Access to this tool is granted by the AP coordinator in your school, and it is separate from this K12 score reporting portal. The AP coordinator in your building has a code that will give you access to the tool, and when you get in there, you see that students are listed and their potential for success in 22 advanced placement subjects is indicated with a Y. Yes, the student is likely to be successful on the AP exam, or an N. No, the student is not presently ready to be successful. Use this information to identify additional students for AP courses and identify courses that you could add to your schedule because so many students are likely to be successful. This will help you grow your AP program. From the full registration roster report, you can click on a student name and get into the student report. And now this is a change this year. When you do that, you're going to see the individual student scores in the same way that the student sees them. So that will make your counseling process easier because you're not trying to figure out what they're looking at versus what you're looking at. Here in their individual score report, it links to detailed student scores, and there's a link allowing students to download their PDF report. It also links to their AP Potential and detailed score reporting, including test scores, cross-test scores, and sub-scores. So you click on View Details from here, and then you can see some projected growth and other opportunities. You can view the projected growth for the individual student by seeing how they've performed against the college readiness benchmarks and what the projected range of scores for next year looks like. It also shows national sample percentile and user percentile. The nationally representative sample percentile is based on a research study weighted to represent all 10th grade US students, while the user group percentiles are based on the scores of students who actually took the PSAT and NMSQT in prior years. You can download that PDF and you can scroll down to see the student scores and a history of all of the SAT assessments taken by the student. You'll see that there are some scores in a green range, a red range, and a yellow range. And this is to provide you with some insightful feedback that indicates a student's specific areas of strength and weaknesses. Together with the action steps in the skills insight section, these ranges can help students meet and exceed the college and career readiness benchmarks. The scores that are in red, or in green, sorry, are indicate that the student has met the benchmark or exceeded the benchmark for their grade. Scores that are below the benchmark but within 1 year of growth of meeting the benchmark are marked in yellow. And then scores below the benchmarks and more than 1 year growth for meeting the benchmark are indicated in red. We've also made some changes to the paper score report. You'll see these are some screenshots of what the student will receive in their paper score report this year. They'll receive similar reports for PSAT 10 and PSAT 8-9 if you're giving any of those assessments. And like I said before, you can print additional copies through the K12 score reporting portal. We've given less information in the new paper report about subscores and cross-test scores, and instead we're encouraging students to go online to see all of their scores. This way they'll access the many features of the online score report, like Skills Insight, AP Potential, and linking to official SAT practice on Khan Academy. The paper score does give students a report of each of their scores and indicates whether they've met or exceeded or approaching or need to strengthen their skills in order to meet the benchmarks. It encourages students to look at their online report because there they can not only see which questions they missed, but if their test form is disclosed, they can view the actual test questions and their answers to analyze their mistakes so they can improve the next time they take a test in the suite. But the best thing about looking at student scores online is that it links students to free official SAT practice on Khan Academy. The College Board teamed up with Khan Academy to develop and provide a world-class personalized SAT practice program that happens to be free for all students and educators. Students can link their College Board and Khan Academy accounts, so Khan Academy analyzes student test scores and develops a personalized practice plan based on the areas the student needs to improve. All of the questions in this program are College Board approved and created by the people who wrote the assessments. But the emphasis is not just on test prep, it's on skill building to make sure students have the fundamental knowledge and skills they need to be successful after high school. They can see in-depth explanations of practice questions and watch video lessons to help them build skills. What we found now that we've done the official SAT practice for a few years, our researchers found that students who engaged in 20 hours of official SAT practice got an average of 115-point increase from PSAT, NMSQT to SAT. In addition, we saw that 16,000 students gained more than 200 points. We further evaluated whether the findings held across different types of students and confirmed that practice advanced students regardless of gender, race, income, or high school GPA. Official SAT practice also offers coach resources so that students can work with their counselors, their teachers, or their parents to help them and hold them accountable for practice. Coaches can monitor practice, remind students of upcoming test dates, and encourage students to keep on working. In the coach tools, there are 36 lesson plans available, 16 math, 16 reading and writing, and 4 essay that teachers can use in the classroom that support the use of official SAT practice. While these tools are designed to help inform classroom instruction, they could also be useful for counselors or other educators as they support students on their path to college. One last great little app is the SAT Daily Practice app. You can get it in the App Store or through Google Play. It has many functions that include our lovely daily practice question. But the good news is you can practice more than one question in a day. The coolest feature is the scan and score feature. When students take a practice test on paper, which entails them printing a full-length practice test and the answer sheet, they can then take a picture of their answer sheet on their phone and receive a fully scored exam immediately. They will get all the scores they would get if they were taking a real assessment. There are presently 8 full-length practice tests that can be accessed at sat.org or on Khan Academy. And when they do that, their results go into Khan Academy, and Khan Academy uses them to personalize their practice.
Thank you so much, Martha, for all of that PSAT and SAT suite information. I just wanted to quickly go over some counselor and advisor best practices before we transition to resources and also Lynn from Corpus Christi. It seems like the first one is really very simple, but you want to make sure that for counselor or advisor, you're very well versed on how this exam runs at your school if you administer it. Many school districts cover the cost of this assessment. Not all of them do, but you want to take full advantage of using the tool and what's expected. Also, really understanding student scores and what they mean is also important for, I think, quality and effective advising for students, and that will also help parents understand how to support their students when prepping for later tests such as the SAT. And also make sure to gain administrator support with this important part, a huge initiative as part of the fall semester during the school year. Administrators can help organize any events, distribute scores, and also just generally support college and career readiness at your campus. And then finally, research shows that test prep often raises scores. Martha talked a little bit about this, but many campuses offer test preparation as either part of instruction or part of after school programs, or even just available for students and families that may or may want to pay for a service. So those are just some things that I think are best practices to know if you're counseling or advising students.
This is Jaslyn. You've received a lot of information on supporting students as they prepare to take the PSAT/NMSQT about available score support as well as available resources. So this is a really great infographic from the College Board that just gives you really...
Good morning, Texans. Would you please stand, face the nearest flag, and recite?
Sorry.
Sorry, I think that was Lynn. We just muted her.
That's okay. This infographic is really simple, really helpful to help students understand how to connect their Khan Academy and their College Board accounts. It's really important step just because what happens is that when they link it, it really provides them just personalized practice. So students and families basically will ask you that question, like, what's the importance of this? And so a few things to highlight is just by linking their accounts, the practice and recommendations on Khan Academy will solely be based on their results. Students will also be able to jump right into the practice without having to take any additional diagnostic quizzes or practice tests. And lastly, all future scores from the SAT, PSAT, NMSQT, PSAT 10, and PSAT 8-9 will also be sent to help customize the student's practice and recommendations on Khan Academy. So really helpful for parents and guardians in terms of supporting their students with connecting their results after they get them. And now I'll turn it over to Lynn to share a few additional things.
And let's see, the winning grade level of...
Okay, so one of the questions from Patrick was that, and it's okay if you joined late, but one of the questions was, you're doing a training next Monday for teachers. Is there a teacher presentation? I'm assuming if there is a teacher presentation about PSAT. Martha, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, if you go to that page, sat.org/PD, and look at the self-guided courses, there's some information there on those are general to the SAT suite, so you know the things that are the same. If you're looking for some specific things about the PSAT, NMSQT, I would suggest you go to educator downloads from that page and look for, there are some lesson plans that can be shared with students and parents.
Great, thank you, Martha. We had another question as well from Jennifer asking, where are the infographics for the PSAT located in the modules? Jaslyn, can you help with that?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry. So the infographic that I showed today is in our National Merit Scholarship Program module, which on our dashboard is located under the financial aid section, content area. And then in Unit 1, there's one page that talks about about PSAT NMSQT scores. So that's where the first infographic is located. And then the next one is down, let's see, when we talk about the types of merit scholarship awards, it's actually the first page called Scholarship Offers. Again, all of these resources are on the Pinterest account, so that's the quickest way for you to access it if you just wanted to grab one of them, but they are available both in the Academy and then also on our Pinterest account.
Perfect. Thank you, Jaslyn. Okay, let's check with Lynn.
I'm back. I am so sorry. Perfect timing for high school.
That's okay. We heard a PSAT announcement.
I love it.
That's great. Well, I'll let you go ahead, Lynn.
So good morning again. This is Lynn. I'm a high school counselor. These are just some things we do at our high school. This is probably the front page of our website. We really try and remind students of the upcoming SAT and ACT dates. And this is a banner. And if you go forward on our banner, then it gives you an actual link to the different dates for SAT and PSAT. We do send out text using Remind in student groups, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, just reminding them of things that are coming up. And students can sign up for that with their phones or their parents or both. Clearly, you heard the text and announcement. We have morning reminders. Exams are placed on our school master calendar. And teachers, we've just started using Canvas. It's new to our district this year, so they're reminding students via lecture and Canvas. We do a lot of advertising on our website, and if you look at the black toolbar in the middle where it says students, you can also click on I have a page. It's the Career and College Readiness Center with all the upcoming information. We do send announcements. We have a marquee. I'll get into this in a minute, but we also, the Friday or Thursday or Friday before an exam, we actually deliver another copy of their ticket as a reminder with the items to bring, etc. Sometimes students lose their tickets. We do help remind them that when they come in here and register, or if they register on their own, to make sure and link their account to Khan Academy so that they can get their results. And this morning I sent out on Twitter a reminder that 20 hours or more of practice on Khan Academy can lead to an increase of 115 points. I really like that bulletin. Thank you, College Board. On campus, we have a club, RSAT, which actually, the school is WB Ray, R-A-Y, so it actually stands for Ray Students Aim Toward Success, but it's a practice SAT. It's a club, or students can just go after school. We are an international baccalaureate school, so we have several teachers that tutor in the afternoon and on Saturdays to help our kiddos prepare and link their account if they didn't already know how. When the scores are returned to us at our high school, we do distribute them through the ELA classes. Sometimes it's late December, sometimes it's early January, depending on break. And our ELA teachers review the score reports and the students, with the students, excuse me. And if needed, we can go to the SAT score reporting portal if they've lost or don't remember their access code. And we do use the portal quite a bit to check on attendance, fee waiver usage, reprint tickets as needed.
Okay, thank you so much, Lynn. Is there anything else you wanted to add in terms of the PSAT at your campus?
No, I do work closely with our dean, who is actually over PSAT, but we have a new dean, and so we've worked even more closely this year because she's kind of learning a lot of things, and she's very motivated and young, and so it's been a fun fall.
That's great. That's great to hear. Well, thank you so much, Lynn. I will go ahead and leave this up, even though, you know, we were able to cover these topics, but this gives you the dates and the topics for our upcoming webinars. We will all stay on and take a look at any questions that we did not get a chance to answer. So take a minute there, and if you have any questions for Lynn at Ray High School or Martha at College Board or any one of us here at Texas OnCourse, you can go ahead and put those in now. Okay, we actually finished a few minutes early. I realize we gave a lot of information. We will follow up with sending all of the attendees and everybody registered that wasn't able to join us this morning. We will send out the recording of this and also post it on our website on the page that has all of our webinar information. And so we'll stick around for another couple of minutes before I close out of the webinar completely and see if any questions come up. But special thanks, many thanks to Martha Morris at College Board. She's in Washington, D.C. this morning, and so she changed her schedule around to be our guest speaker. So thank you, Martha.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to help out, and I'd be happy to answer any questions as best I can.
Great, and also thanks to Lynn Hartnett, who is in a busy high school, as we heard. She gave us some great content as well for the webinar on how they do the PSAT at their school. I'm going to check our questions real quickly. Martha, do you have any information about the brochures that College Board distributes about the SAT exam? This is from a campus?
Yep. They have changed the process this summer, and so all of that information can be ordered, and I'm trying to find the link where to get that. So give me a second.
While you're doing that, Martha, there is a typo on the slide. My apologies. The webinar, these are on the first Tuesday of each month, and that is November 6th, not November 4th. So we will change this, and yes, we will also send the PowerPoint presentation along with that. I can't change the date right now while we're broadcasting, but it is November 6th at 10 a.m. Thank you for pointing that out, because November 4th is the Sunday, so that won't work for us.
I posted a link where there's a couple of things you can download, but I've not quite found the link that I was looking for. When I find it, if it's after this webinar, I'll make sure to send it to you, Jaslyn, and so that you can share it.
Okay, that'll be great.
Okay, I don't think we have any other questions. We will make those quick corrections, send out links, the PowerPoint and the recording. Sometimes we edit some things out and make corrections. So if you could give us 24 hours, we'll send that out in the next day or so to everyone that attended. Okay, thank you all so much. Have a great rest of the day and a great rest of your week.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.